Dr. Ahmed Ibrahim Al-Mustafa, and I'm happy to welcome you to the second session of the Public Health Research Evidence Dissemination Network, FRED. This is the second interview in the session that we'll be having, and we're glad to have a set of capable moderators here today to moderate this edition of our interview, and then we have esteemed public health personality that will be speaking to us today on her experiences and everything. Just before you go, I'm actually a new member of FRED, and it's my pleasure to represent the team lead for the FRED organization to just give this brief introduction of today's meeting. As we all know, for those of you that are new, FRED simply means Public Health Research Evidence Dissemination Network, and there are two basic components to FRED. The first one is the FRED community, and then we have the FRED partners. And then for us, the connecting link between the community and the partners is the mentorship foundation. Of course, there are different activities that will be undertaken by the FRED network and the community itself. And then we have several other subsectors of FRED itself, which includes the planning hub and several project planning teams. Generally, again, for those that are new, the interests of the network or the group, community, as the case may be, are to improve research evidence dissemination, research utilization, knowledge translation, as well as evidence-informed policymaking within the health systems. We hope to bridge the relational gap between health policymakers, researchers, funders, as well as practitioners. Yep. Community survivors, as well as students. Thirdly, we hope to advocate for a whole of society or a holistic approach towards the achievement of universal health coverage, as well as sustainable development goals associated with SDGs of the United Nations. Fourthly, we hope to facilitate the adoption and mainstreaming of principle of health in all policies across all health sectors. And then finally, at least for the moment, we hope to support the professional development as well as career advancement of members of our network through several mentorship activities. And this is one of those activities where we hope to enlighten and broaden the scope of our members from data generated using the experiences from experienced persons, public health researchers across the country. So in terms of benefits, we hope that our members, as well as the general public, those attending this meeting, will have several benefits, and this could include, but not limited to, our ability to generate evidence-based policy making for public health decision makers, as well as ourselves. We hope to improve our research capacity by strengthening our research abilities and capabilities. We hope to improve interprofessional collaborations between various sectors, either in the human-animal environment, or the social sciences, which is quite important in terms of health services now. Of course, through various teams, we will be doing several career mentorship activities. And with this, I'd like to thank you very much for attending this. And I would also like to say a few words on the two moderators who will now take over the activities for the interview itself. Ladies and gentlemen, may I first introduce our first moderator for the night. She's an experienced and seasoned public health practitioner. She's Ms. Rosemary Dixon Inze, and she's a FRED fellow. She has over 10 years of experience, a decade of experience in the public health space, and mostly worked with HIV/AIDS, NTDs, malaria, as well as TB, and for several other projects within this time frame. And co-moderating this session together with her is Ms. Aminat Adewale. She obtained her MPH, Masters in Public Health from the University of Ibadan, and also has an over a decade of experience in the public health domain, working in the same research line in public HIV/AIDS control, malaria, HIV, TB, girl-child education, as well as other population programs. I would like to hand over the mic to them now to please welcome our esteemed interviewee for today, and hopefully we are all able to jot a few things down that we could use to improve our personal selves. Moderator, the floor is over to you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Ahmed, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. I hear you loud and clear.
All right. Thank you very much.
Group
Thank you.
floods. Yes, yes.
Yeah, thanks for introducing the moderators and the co-moderators. I like the co-moderators to just say one or two words before I introduce our guest speaker for tonight. So moderators, just say a word, one 1 minute, and then I introduce our guest minister for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lawrence, and thank you so much, our guest speaker, for honoring our invitation. And thank you, everyone, for joining this call. It's well appreciated. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Madam Aminat, please over. Say a word, then I introduce our guest minister for tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. And I want to specifically thank our interviewee for making time out to be here with us today and to share from our wealth of experience. And I also want to really appreciate people who have logged in online to also benefit from our wealth of experience, and hope we have a wonderful session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. It's with my great joy and sincere appreciation that we have all joined this call tonight, and I have the singular honor to read a recitation of our guest interviewee tonight. Our interviewee is Professor Regina OLADOKUN. She is a doctor, a professor of pediatric infectious disease, University of Ibadan, and a consultant pediatrician, University College Hospital, Ibadan. Prof. Regina had her undergraduate medical education at the University of Nigeria and pediatric training at the University College Hospital, Ibadan. She had a short fellowship in pediatrics infectious disease at the John Radcliffe Hospital, Oxford, under the auspices of the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health, United Kingdom. She had a subspecialty in clinical training and in the field at Cape Town. She was a visiting scholar at the Gates Institute, John Hopkins School of Public Health, Baltimore, USA, and a further experience in public health with Masters of Public Health from University of Ibadan. She is a past head of Department of Pediatrics College of Medicine, University of Ibadan, and University College Ibadan, and currently heads the Pediatric Infectious Disease Unit. At the national level, she chairs the National TB Research Task Team. She is the vice chair of the Child TB Steering Committee at the National TB and Leprosy Control Program, as well as membership of several national committees. She is the president of the Nigerian Society of Pediatric Infectious Disease. She's also a member of the board of World Society for Pediatric Infectious Diseases, which is a body that connects stakeholders from all continents working to improve pediatric infectious disease care, support, research, and education globally. She is the co-investigator in several projects pertaining to our health research interests, ranging from vaccine and non-vaccine preventable diseases, tuberculosis, HIV, and antimicrobial stewardship. Join me as I welcome the erudite scholar tonight as our interviewee, Professor Regina OLADOKUN. Madam, you are highly welcome. You are highly welcome. Can we have a word from you? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here, and kudos to Kunle Daramola, and I see how FRED is growing, and it's amazing. So it just teaches you that all you need to do is start with that one foot forward, and before you say anything, you'll just be amazed. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma. Thank you so much. I hand you over to the moderators now. Thank you. Please, you are muted. Madam Rosemary, you are muted.
Okay, so I just observed. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much, Doc, for joining this call. I want to really appreciate you for the sacrifice you've paid to be here. And it's really well appreciated. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, once again, for being on this call at a time like this. So my name is Rosemary Dixon. So on this call, I'll be moderating as the first moderator. So I would ask some few questions while I turn it over to the second moderator to take over. So Doc, Prof, my first question is, could you share with us what inspired you to actually pursue your career in research, and how has the journey been so far as a woman researcher? Over to you, Prof.
Thank you very much. And all the people who are on this call, I was just asking myself, what is it that I'm going to say to you that you can't go and read up or anything, but I'm honored to be here, and I'll just tell you what how I took off and what I think I'm doing. So I started off, the medical training is the first thing. Right from when I was in Form 2 in the secondary school, I just, I liked health science, and the teacher, an Indian teacher then in a federal school, she also discovered that, and she encouraged me, and she found that I was asking a lot of questions. And then my classmates also, maybe they also realized that I loved medicine as far back as that time. Any medical book, those days there used to be this where there's no doctor, and we had a copy in my house. So I will read it from cover to cover, ask questions, and so that was where my curiosity started as somebody that wanted to study medicine in the first place, because I thought it was a good thing. It to really fulfill, it would make me fulfilled if I had a career in medicine, like a puzzle, put the puzzle together. That was what I thought in going into medicine, put a puzzle together and make people get well. And then, of course, going into the university, I studied medicine and surgery, and I got even more curious as to the different parts of the body, how they work, and what could go wrong at any point, and then the basis, and then what to do to make people get better and all that. And then before I completed, I passed through pediatrics, and I said, oh yes, children, I think that's where it has to be, because I saw the way the children will respond very easily, much better than adults, no pretenses. And you needed to put in maybe less, but they were more puzzling because they couldn't talk, they couldn't speak. So you had to go in directly to their caregivers. And then you had to observe certain things to decide what was wrong with them. So all those things captivated me. So now it depends on what you think you want. What is it that is, what is that tickles you? What do you think that will make you fulfilled? Because your career has to give you joy. Your career will give you money to put food on your table, but at the same time, it has to be something that you really like, so that you're doing your work and you're enjoying that work. So that was what made me tick, and I continued like that. So I honed down on children, and then did residency again in pediatrics. So when I completed my residency training, you know that in pediatrics, again, there are many aspects, different specialties. Right now, there are more than 12 specialties. And I started with cardiology, with the heart. And then just by chance, I had this, my mentor, my role model, Professor Kikelomo Shunusi. She was the one that I would say jump started where I am today, because cardiology didn't work out. there was no, when I finished, there was no opening. And I didn't want to separate from the family by going to a faraway place where there was an opening. And then at that point was when HIV became a problem, a global health concern. And Professor Shunisi had started the unit of pediatric infectious diseases. As you know, infectious disease and public health are very related. So she had invited me to come and join the unit and all that. And that was where it all started. And of course, you know the story of how HIV just got out of hand, and then there were so many, the program expanded and all that. So that was what got me into public. So while all that was, even before that started happening, I had gone to do my MPH. I'd done that exposure in Hopkins with child health. And of course, I saw how they did things on the other side of the world, public health. They didn't plan for one person. That's the difference between public health and treating. I like treating children, but then you treat one child with how much money? And then you have public health where you can plan for thousands and millions of children with even the same resources, if not less. So that was my attraction for public health, and that's the story. And I've gone on and on. Tuberculosis, you know, is a public health problem. HIV is a public health problem. Meningitis, vaccine preventable disease, measles, and so on. So that's my story of how I went on and on and on.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you. Thank you. It's been very exciting to hear. And it's actually very good to also hear that you were actually mentored and followed up by a female. So that brings us to the topic of today: resilience, not silence, the experience of women in public health research. Actually, this is why we are here. And we are here to hear from ladies and hear from women how we're able to really go through this with the whole lot of work we do, bringing family, bringing work, and also doing research. So on that, I would want to know how you have been able to manage your personal and professional experience and how you've been able to use it to influence and affect the life of women and also marginalized community. So we'd like to hear that, maybe just in 1 minute, ma'am. Thank you, over.
Okay, so I've mentioned my mentor, Professor Oshunusi. She is our foundation infectious diseases expert and doing a lot of research, and had joined her. So maybe that was what made me think she could do it. And you need to know Professor Oshunusi, a woman of substance. So having a good role model, I think that's a very good thing to start. And I didn't feel it was impossible for a female, because she and a few other females that I saw around me that could do a lot in research. I felt the sky was just the limit to work with women like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much. So audience, I believe we are noting down our questions because we'll have a session to ask Prof direct questions. But at the moment, Prof, can you share with us some key challenges you have faced as a female researcher, and how were you able to overcome them?
As a female, or let me say that I felt a lot of them were subtle, and or I didn't take note too much, but it's there. You have to recognize in the first place that the world we're living in, I wouldn't say is a man's world, but maybe that's very close to what it is really, because even up till now, to take a leadership position or take a research position, people still, you can imagine sometimes people who don't know me, when they're answering when I'm calling and somebody's answering, person is saying, sir. Why would somebody automatically believe that because somebody is a professor, it has to be a sir? So that's just telling. I wouldn't say it does not exist, that it's tougher for women, but then the women, if you recognize and then strive to work hard so that gender will not be the face of whatever it is you're doing. And then you also have to perform and give results. Then people will now disregard the gender issue and know that yes, this person can be trusted and gives results and knows what she's doing. I think that's what is most important. And let's not also think that because we're women, we have to cry foul all the time. We need to compete as good as the men. And then women have been blessed to be to have the multitasking skills. So you have to be able to do many things at once. As your brain is working for what the next research question will be, you're also thinking of how to keep your home going. You're also thinking of how to take care of the extended family. You also have to think of a lot of things, how to cook the next soup and which markets to go for the best deal. But that resilience, that gift women have got. We must not take that for granted. We need to harness that gift because it's already there. But we shouldn't like people to give us a post, a position, a grant because we're just women. We need to compete like the men. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's so good to hear. What I heard very clearly was, as a woman, you learn to compete and then also give results. So if you really want people to actually note what you've done so far, like I'm talking to everyone on the audience to actually know that as a woman, you have no limitation to get to the height you want to get to. What matters is what result are you giving? Irrespective of the gender, it will be overlooked. And it's quite interesting to also hear that when they hear prof, they believe he's a male. I'm just wondering how you would have handled that in those days. Like, you have to force them to actually understand that this is a woman talking, not a man. And also one very wonderful thing that women have, and everyone here can attest to that, is the multitasking skill. That has been really, really awesome. So I would want you to share with us any discrimination you've had during doing this work as a female. I've heard you say you haven't really, you can't really picture out any challenges. But have you ever felt discriminated as being a female researcher in the past years that you've done this work as a researcher? Thank you, and over.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe not as a researcher, but taking up a position that will lead to a lot of things, research, policy, and so on. I've said maybe also depending on where you are, there's still some people who believe that men will handle things better than women when it comes to leading a committee. That's where the threat is the most. And then when they know that when they want results, they want someone who can really think and put things together. They know who to go to. But sometimes they feel that if there's a male presiding over a committee, maybe that male will be able, the threat outside will be less. That male will be able to knock on doors and doors will open better for the male. It is a perception, but we have to just keep walking through that perception, us women, I mean, and also not to antagonize the males and all that, but we need to just find a way of working side by side. And as I said earlier, just prove our mental and see how it goes. But if things like, if they don't work out, you have all that discrimination or you have limitations because of your gender, I think you should just forge ahead. Forge ahead. There are so many things to do, so many tasks, so many committees, so many things to do, both locally, regionally, and internationally. The sky is the limit. So that one does not just fall back and get depressed about being suppressed by gender issues. And if you have your family backing, and then you have colleagues, and you have also people mentoring, as I've been saying, it is even easier to navigate through some of those challenges. But yes, if I'd said that I don't really remember much, it's because I've overlooked a lot of them because I've decided to forge ahead. I think now looking back, I remember one incident where this issue of having to select a man, yes, it happened, but the way I handled it was to just forge on and just carry on with more research, now that the internet is even much more than when I did, when I was younger in the field. Then the questions research questions are 1001 out there. So just keep yourself busy. There are many questions to ask and start. And there are grants now out there on the internet. Just Google what kind of grants you want, and you'll see so many. But then you have to put that one foot forward so that people will see your footprints. Otherwise, it will even be difficult to trust you, whether you're a man or a woman. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much once again, Prof. Thank you so much for that insight and giving us hope. Those of us that are just starting up, it's good to hear that, yes, at some point you'll be perceived as a weaker vessel, obviously. Men are preferred in the leadership, obviously. However, women can actually show results to let people know that you can do what you are doing and do it absolutely well. Prof has really proven that. A few days ago, she was on the stage anchoring so many people and sharing a wonderful session. And it was so insightful. It was so wonderful to actually meet her in person and see how humble she is despite the portfolio. It's so good to know. And I see one thing here. You don't have to struggle it. I'm just speaking to ladies out there, women out there. You don't have to drag it with anyone. Just show results, and it will naturally come on its own. So thank you so much, Prof, for giving us that word of encouragement and letting us know that a woman can actually do it even far more than a man. We can show more results because we are naturally multitasking. We have a natural multitasking skill. So it's good to know that. Thank you so much once again, Prof. So another question I want to hear from you is, do you think women are important in public health research? And do you think they are well represented? Why am I asking this question? I'm asking this question because just a few days ago, we did a national TB conference. And in my mind, I was just counting the number of women that gave oral presentation. They were minute. A lot of them were men. And actually, they gave results as well. So my question is, do you think women are really important? If men are doing it already, should we just relax and allow them do it? Or should we do it as well? Thank you, and over to you, Prof.
Of course, women have to also join to do research. Women have a lot of distractions, as I have said, but there are also some fields where you have a lot of women playing a lot of roles. In my pediatrics, now we have it, the men are actually crying out that they're endangered because you come to some departments of pediatrics, out of maybe 20 individuals, 3/4 will be women. Or just like you have engineers, out of how many you'll see more men. It may happen like that because of the physical activity required. Or in the case of pediatrics, I don't know whether it's because children are involved that it's now shifting. But you know, in the earlier days, we had more men. We come to my department and look at our ancestors on the wall. We have pictures of our previous HODs and all that. The first row has men, totally, out of that, like 8 or so. And then the second row then started having a few women. The last row now has more females. So it's like things are shifting. I think it's a paradigm shift that's happening in a lot of things. So of course, women should be in research. I mean, there are so many of them I know out there that are PIs in big grants. I just came back from Uganda. We had the International Pediatric HIV infection conference, and there's this lady, Professor Philippa. She's the one. They have so many clinical trials and so many projects that she leads. If any of you, if you have heard of the ARROW trial that had to do with HIV treatment in children, she's the one that led that trial, and so many others. So we have a lot of women that have achieved in the field of research, and they are even increasing in number. And if a woman out there, a female, you can equally do it. So at the TB conference, if I agree now, looking at it, all the people that went up stage to present, it looks like there were lots of males, but it can be because in the programs, you know, some of them, they need to go to hard to reach areas, and maybe they will prefer a male for some of those roles. So it may be a coincidence. I want us to look at it as a coincidence so that the females will not feel that TB research or scientific research is only for men. I think this one is a coincidence. So, but if there's any truth in it, please, females, let's wake up and see how we'll take more interest in research. Collaborate and collaborate. So something I shared with people at the conference yesterday was the fact that I had met more than 10 new people that we had discussed collaboration one way or the other. And you need to do that. When you go for these conferences, please try to network. Don't waste any opportunity. Even if it's a Zoom call and there are opportunities to network, don't lose those opportunities. Anywhere you go and they talk about research, don't lose the opportunity. And even now on LinkedIn, I'm not very much a social media person, apart from WhatsApp. But my friends or some of my younger colleagues and friends tell me about LinkedIn, that it's a good way to also put yourself out there, and then you'll get good collaborations. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Just on that collaboration, I would like to know if you had instances where you had to collaborate with the male researchers to come up with a research work you've done in the past, and how has it been very helpful in career growth, and how has the experience been? So basically just an experience you've had collaborating with a male researcher, and how's the experience been over the years?
I'm trying to look up an incident. Positive, negative, even some males that are younger than us females, sometimes they have this patronizing attitude if you're not careful. I'm a very sensitive people. I like psychology. I read people. So I've also had instances where males, because they are males, somehow they don't want a woman to lead them. You have to be ready for that. But find a way of accommodating and just bringing out the fact that there's a goal here. We need to look at the bus stop. This is what our goal is, and be fair. Even if you're the PI, don't go hoarding everything to yourself. Assign roles appropriately, be respectful with everyone, get everyone to feel important in the team. So that, because if you marginalize anyone, that's where the trouble comes. Then people start looking at, oh, it's because she's a woman. Oh, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. And then there are positive ones too, I must say, where I've worked with men and they respected the fact that, oh, maybe this person has something up there and asks my opinion and wants to always bring me in to the when we're doing any think tank, let me put it like that. We're going to have a meeting, a research meeting, and I'm not available. Oh, he feels so bad because if he says that he thinks that I contribute meaningfully to whatever discussions when we're trying to brainstorm on the introduction, the objectives, and all that. So that's what I've been saying over and over and over again. Just try and see and read it. I read a lot too. I read.
Sorry, I don't know if it's not from my end. Prof, I think we lost you momentarily. You can hear us. Hello?
Hello,
Prof?
Rosemary.
Yes, I can hear you now, loud and clear. Yeah, you said you read a
Was
lot.
it lost at a point?
Yeah, yeah, you said you read a lot. I think that's where we lost you.
Wow, I don't know where the network issue is coming from. Is it from my side?
Okay, but I can hear you now. I can hear you loud and clear.
All right.
Yeah.
So was there something you didn't hear before?
Yeah, I think you were talking about how good you are with reading and then getting more knowledge and information. I think that's where I lost
Okay,
you.
so the substrate, you need to have the substrate, and what helps you acquire the skills, the knowledge. Reading is central to a lot of things. Reading, now I've said the internet just has so much. World Wide Web is so much. But earlier, when I had started, we didn't have the internet then, but still there were textbooks in the library. And then even apart from very serious reading, to read up subject matter, I also read novels, but more seriously, so you're thinking about something, you have an interest in something, and you have some questions going through your mind for a future research or one you want to go after. You need to read and get more knowledge so that you don't go reproducing what others have done. There must be something left. That's what research is about. Hardly do you see all that groundbreaking research everywhere. There may be something left. So when you read this paper, at the end of the paper, they'll say, oh, these are our limitations, and some of these aspects have not been covered. So you take that bit up and say, oh, yes, maybe I'll look into that to see if I'll now be able to answer the question left in this previous work. Thank you very much. Over.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you. So I would like to call on the audience. If you have questions at the moment, you can drop on the chat box. You can pick it up from there and ask Prof. While we'll turn it over to you in a few minutes' time to speak. If you want to speak from your end directly to Prof, or at the moment, you can just drop your messages or your questions on the chat. And I think it would be nice for those of us that were there in the last conference that just ended today. It would be nice to really appreciate her for agreeing to be here. Just to mention, it's good to hear that she has actually collaborated with men. From what I heard her say just a few minutes ago, it's clear that there are some research work that needs strength. So on that regards, you would need the males to do it because yeah, they say female are the weaker vessels. So we are not. However, the strength is also needed at some point. So collaboration is something that is good. Don't feel as a woman you can do it all by yourself, or feel that because you're a woman, they are looking down on you or something. So your perception to life and the way you collaborate and the way you relate with people also matters a lot. That will actually pave way. So while I expect questions from the audience, I would like to ask this last question before I turn it over to the second moderator. So the last question I'll be asking from my end is, what experiences have you had, Prof, mentoring women particularly? What experience have you had over the years mentoring women?
Yes, it's been very nice, and I'm happy, and it makes me, it humbles me when I see a lot of females that come up to me at conferences, or when I give a lecture, a public lecture or something, and some women come particularly and say, oh, I think I would like to just go the way you've gone. And it makes me, it humbles me, and it makes me happy. Like, okay, so I need to even do more, because there are people who are also looking up, and I may actually be influencing people. So the more reason to see how I'll get better and influence other women. So for whom I have mentored over the years, yes, I've had quite a lot, men and women. I don't want us to just leave this thing to women only, so that we too won't be discriminating against the men. In the science world, I don't think, like on medicine, we believe that there's no male or female. We don't have gender in medicine. It's what you have upstairs that defines your worth. A lot of times, that's what we believe. But having said that, I have females who have glided towards me. And what I try to do is the co-creation. I mean, now we say brainstorming. And I say this, I remember many years ago, was a younger resident. I was still a resident doctor, but was younger than me. And because I passed through what she was, that research, I had done my dissertation, and I was almost completing the program. And this resident was going through hers, and she had come to the aspect of discussion. So I told her, oh, you know what? Just think about it like this. You have objectives. So just use each of your objectives, put it in the discussion. Open that that page of discussion. Just put the objectives one by one as subheadings, and then start populating from your findings. And that's how you're going to write your discussion. At the end of the day, she said, oh, I didn't really know it was like that. So I said, yes, from the beginning, the introduction to your literature, methodology, all the way to discussion, limitation, and whatever else, recommendations, you must always follow your objectives. That's if they are not connected to your objectives, then something is wrong. So she said, oh, I didn't really look at it like that. And within a very short time, she was able to write her discussion and finish it. And I've had many more people who had come like that, wherever they got stuck with their writing up their dissertation or whatever research, even as much as even something like looking for a new topic. And I say, wow, this topic that you're thinking about, you know, we have something called FINA. You must look at the feasibility, how interesting it is. It must be interesting to you. It must be feasible. If you're going to use a lot of funds and you don't have any grants, that may not be a very good study to do. And then it has to add something, not just because you want to do it because it has not been done in Ibadan and all that. And then ethical. Is it ethical? Would you want your child to undergo that study? And what about relevance and all that? Say, oh, okay. So I usually do those basic things. That's how I try to mentor younger people, so that they will see that research is interesting. It's not that it is easy, but there's a formula to it. And when you understand that formula, you try and unravel, and it actually gets interesting. So that's the experience I've had up till now. I still have people that I'm mentoring, and and it's fulfilling because if you teach people, you get better and better and better. Thank you very much.
That is an absolute truth. Thank you so much, Prof, for that's wonderful insight. However, on a lighter note, audience, if you want to get across to Prof, you have to pass through me. So you need to look for my contact to get across to Prof if you want her to be your mentor. At this note, I would hand it over to the second moderator to take over from where I start. Thank you so much, Prof, for this wonderful time. And I turn it over to you, Madam Amnet. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Prof. It is really been insightful learning from your wealth of experience. And it is not, I think, let me just officially welcome you to the, more like the second half of the interview session. And again, I want to appreciate you for making time out of your tight schedule to be able to do this. We really appreciate it, and we don't take it for granted. So not to take much of our time, because we're already having questions on the chat box. And of course, I want to please urge our listeners that it's going to be a session where you can get to ask your questions directly. And at the same time, you can also drop them in the chat box if you feel more comfortable by that. So, Prof. Ma, I would like to know, what step do you think institutions or organizations in public health can take to create more inclusive and supportive environment for women researchers? We know there is already a gap, and women were just trying to more like come up, more like cover this gap. So what do you think, based on your experience, that can be done to ensure that we quickly narrow this gap and we have more women researchers in the research area? Thank you, ma.
Okay, thank you very much. Skills. Should I start with interest before skills? Interest. So a forum like this, hoping that a lot of the females that are listening, and then if you're a male that are listening and you have a female, a partner, and all that, and you know that person can do it, please encourage, nudge the person towards, we can nudge people towards research. They might not, somebody was saying, oh, research seems to be difficult. When you explain that research is just curiosity, and you want to answer this curiosity and see where it ends. So if someone loves puzzles, loves adventure, then the person will do well in research. And research does not become, it's small, let's put it like that. It's small, and then it gets bigger. You have to start out and not think from the first day you get a grant of $1 million. That's not realistic. You may even start with using your own funds with the small ones, answering smaller questions, low-hanging fruits. And then when you are able to publish those ones, disseminate those ones through abstract presentations, as we said, the TB conference, abstract presentations or some other conference, and then you also publish. It's not just abstract, publish. Then you become visible. There are many grants out there. So I'm in the University of Ibadan, and last week there was the newsletter from the university that has so many grants listed, so many travel grants for scholarships, to go for conferences, go for short trainings, go for different things. Look out for those. They are there, even in the internet, or whichever group you belong to. And FRED is one place too where I see some of those things. So FRED, if you were not doing much of that, please keep sourcing for some of these opportunities and post them out there. You never know. So try and apply. And if you didn't succeed the first time, you may succeed the second time. You'll get better at it. So that's just to encourage people that want to start out. Females, please. There are so many. In fact, there's this TWAS grant. It's specifically for women. Even in the UI, the newsletter, there are some, they said, this is for women. And I keep saying, hey, the men will not be feeling one kind, that is only women. But that's what it is, to cover the gap, as you have said. Some organizations have realized this, and they are giving women that opportunity to see that they come out and take the opportunity they've been given. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma. Words to live by. It's about curiosity, and we should start by ensuring that we look out for the low-hanging fruit, and we keep at it. With time, we'll get better. Thank you so much.
I hope there's a taxi out there. Please. Okay.
Sorry, I think we lost Miss Amnat.
Yeah, I'm not able to hear her anymore.
Yeah, I think we lost her momentarily. I guess.
Okay. Hello? Is it
Oh,
better now?
we couldn't hear you for a while.
Yeah, we lost you for a while. Thank you.
I'm so sorry about that. So I said what to live by. We now know where to start. Start with the low-hanging fruit. There is opportunity out there. Start by answering the curious questions around us. Thank you so much, Ma. Ma, I also would like to know, are there particular health issues or group of people that you feel are often overlooked in public health research? And how do you think, for this particular set of people, how do you think women researchers can be at the forefront of addressing these gaps to ensure that these people, it's going to be like a win-win situation. These people, their challenges are being brought to the front burner, and at the same time, women researchers are able to take the lead on this. Thank you, ma.
I'm not really sure, but women seem to go towards gender-related issues more. They seem to do more of those qualitative research, but I'm trying to encourage us all, and I want us to even go into higher level research. You know, there's hierarchy in research. Hierarchy as per, you can do experimental studies. It's not only for men, so that we don't think that we should just be doing qualitative studies or doing cross-sectional studies and just leave it at that. Women too, please. I've told you about my friend in Uganda. Clinical trials are for us as well. We can head big clinical trials as well. We can do all sorts of research, more or less. So is there any health-related issue that women should champion? I'm not sure. We even need to get men involved. In fact, that's where there's somebody that presented something on gender affecting tuberculosis, for instance. You know how it affects tuberculosis? It's the men who are having more TB. When you look at the categorization of the gender, it's men. They are the ones that are having higher number of tuberculosis. Meanwhile, when you go to do awareness creation, you go into the community, who is coming out is the women and their children. The men are nowhere to be found. It's the same with HIV. So we even need to involve the men. That's why we should not even be looking at gender issues as the women should take forefront. No, we want the men to also get engaged and be part of every research or every health issue. Because when men don't, in fact, I said we're in a patriarchal situation in Africa, for instance. If the men do not support what we do, we will not, that's just the truth. We will not go too far. So let them be part of it. I would rather not say that women should single out some aspects, but I already told you some professions are now being endangered, like my pediatrics. We now have more women. We now have more men in surgery, more in gynecology and so on. But then there are even women now coming into gynecology. It should be a mix. After all, these conditions, they affect men, they affect women. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. So we should go into everything, and of course, we should not, in a way, try to gender it. As we're doing it, we'll also be needing the men's support so that both of us, from both sides, we can take a holistic look at it and we can make it something beautiful. What's to live by? Definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ma. Ma, how do you see the future of women in public health research? And are there improvements you would want to see when it comes to public health research? I know you've talked about advancements when it comes to women research, especially in other countries, but specifically here in our country, starting from home now, are there improvements you would want to see? Thank you.
So the improvement is what I said, that we want to see women do more more of the analytical and experimental kind of research. A lot of women hang back on the descriptive. Please, can you mute the extra noise there? So I want to see more women. It will be good for us to have more women involved in the higher levels of research. I've talked about research hierarchy. It's not that there's anything wrong with finding out why, how with descriptive studies, but I think we should analyze because those will make more impact into the disease conditions. Find out the cause, the link, and not just that I'm counting how many have something. Why are they having it? Could it be because of this? So let's us women go more into some of those experimental studies. There are vaccines out there that are even meant for maybe low middle income countries. Where do they do the clinical trials? A lot of it is out there because there's a lot of money in research. So that's the more reason that we should actually get more involved into more into the higher hierarchy of research. Thank you. I hope I've answered that bit. I didn't hear a bit of what you were saying at a point.
Okay, you've really answered it, Ma. We're talking about which one should women, but now you have answered it, that we should not just limit ourselves to just the qualitative research. We should go deeper. We have it, and we can actually use our curiosity to find those results too. We're almost rounding up, Ma. What advice? I know you have actually chipped in a lot of advice, but I'll say specifically, what advice do you have for young women interested in entering public health research.
Okay, it's frozen again. We cannot hear Amina, but the bit she said that I heard for somebody that wants to. Amina, we didn't hear you at the point, but let me
Hello?
let me say what I didn't hear
Okay.
you at the point, but you're saying for any female that wants to come into
Yes.
research.
Yes, ma'am.
So where are you coming from? What are you doing right now? Attend a conference virtually. Some conferences are free of charge. Don't wait for the one you go physically. Because when you attend conferences, you see people presenting their papers and all that. And then if there's any area you're interested in, do literature search. Start reading some papers that people have published. Start from there. And that's the curiosity bit of it. Before you now think of what questions you want to ask, and collaborate. Look for people with like minds that will not pull you down or look at you as per this JJC who is just starting out. No, people with an open mind that you can work with, the area you're interested in. There are people out there. But don't even, and I've talked about limiting. We shouldn't limit ourselves. I'm saying depends on what the individual is doing right now. You can also expose yourself to more skills. YouTube these days can do just about anything. Google whatever it is, go on YouTube and ask for how something, how to start a research, how to do what. It's all out there. And AI even has much more to offer. Just go online and read and read and read. That's where to start. And then get people around you that are of like mind that you'll be able to work with. Even approach people, be humble. Approach people and say, please, I would like to join you. Do you have anything I can do to join you in this work? And then also go online and apply for some of those ones that are out there. Thank you.
Collaborate and learn. That really struck a chord with me. Thank you so much for sharing these nuggets with us. And lastly, before we go into the chat box or give some of our listeners opportunity to be able to ask you questions directly, we just want to know, Ma, looking at how you started, I remember you said it all started from when you were in Form 2. Can you tell us your key accomplishment that you are most proud of? And what legacy would you leave for the next generation of women researchers? Thank you, Ma.
Okay. It's hard to answer that question, though. But I told you I was thinking to myself, like, I'm into pediatrics. Yes, I'm a pediatrician. There are some of these conditions that can be prevented. When I was in the university, that was something I also missed out. We used to join in the immunization program, and we went to some of these. We accompanied them to immunize children, and I liked that. That's public health, right? So I liked that a lot, and so that's part of what had spurred me on. And I would say that I went further. I had some passion, I had inspiration, I had role models. So I thought, okay, I need to learn more. I want to do research. I love research. So I went to do public health formally. I had done some courses here and there. Some I had even applied online. I was lucky to go for some of them outside the country to learn bits and bits of research. But I wanted to put everything together. That's why I went to do the public health MPH. And then I think, so that's what I think I went out to do. And then the infectious diseases, I had been doing a lot of it practice for so many years. But after, I decided to go and do a proper fellowship in South Africa so that I will learn it very well. Not like, oh, there's some noise at the background. So that I'll become an authority someday. And everybody will say, oh, yes, if you want to know about this, please, can you consult her? So that's what I tried to do. And it's not just superficially. I had to walk the talk, go and get the skills. For the public health, for my infectious diseases, I got training. And I'm still also looking out. And then you network. When you go for these conferences, I told you, you could get people who say, oh yes, we're looking for somebody to join us in this work, in that work. And I've been able to network well that I now belong to some of these organizations. Like I said, I'm in the board of the World Society for Pediatric Infectious Diseases. At least it makes me proud to say that, yes, when we're there, we can influence what happens, especially for Africa, because some of these organizations, they may not know the problems we have in Africa. So when we go to represent Africa in the global societies, that's a lot. And of course, the work that I do in the national program, TB program, one of the ones I'll say is some of the things we get for the children. Now we have free chest x-ray for any child that has any symptoms suggesting TB. It was when we went for these meetings that we advocated for the children and said, no, 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 we need this, we need that, and we got such some of those things. So those are some of the things that have made me proud. I'm getting more. So in my infectious diseases, a lot of the children that come to my unit for HIV, for TB, they don't pay anything for the tests. They don't pay anything for the treatment because we've gone out up there to the national program and we advocated, we lobbied, and we got them to do these things to make the treatments and the diagnosis free for our children. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow. Those are some really, really great milestones and wonderful accomplishments. May God continue to strengthen you, Ma. And these are really beautiful, Ma. From the chat box, we had, I remember one of the top questions that we had earlier on was that research is very tasking and time consuming. How have you been able to balance your everyday work with research and family, ensuring that none of them suffers over the years, especially considering these heights of accomplishments, Ma?
Oh, thank you very much. I've said God has given us the gift, us women, the gift to multitask. And also from a mentor many years ago who's late now. One of those days she invited us to her house and she was giving us words of wisdom. Then I think I was newly married and she was saying, as a female, you'll be the two of you are even working in the same office. But when you get home, the person who's supposed to go to the kitchen and make food ready is the female. I looked at her like, eh, because I had a different thinking. I was thinking that if the two of us are working in the same office, the two of us should go to the kitchen and prepare the food. Somebody should not stay in the sitting room and put his feet up. But she got me thinking like, no, there are traditional roles that we should embrace, not just for peace, for harmony, not peace, for harmony. So I've learned that as well. I'm not saying I'm a saint, but those are some of the things you have to be very careful about. Give honor to whom honor is due. And then, of course, if you have a child who is 5 years old,
Hello, Ma.
mute. Oh, I don't know who has muted me. So I was saying that you have to give honor to whom honor is due. You have to do the right thing at the right time. Your family, did you hear when I was talking about even if you're working in the same office with your husband, the traditional role should be respected as much as possible for
Yes,
harmony. You heard that. And I was also
Yes,
talking about for the children, a child cannot be 1 year old twice. So you must make sure you are available, providing what a 1 year old requires, because it's the female that does that. The men will support, but it's the woman who is doing most of the nurturing. So that's for the family side. And you plan for the family. So it's not that there's no soup in the house and putting your arms up like I'm doing research. What research are you talking about when your house is on fire? So you must be very careful about that. And then the other aspects, your growth too is important. You don't want the men in your office to be promoted before you. Why? You're going to be psychologically hurt when you see that they are going ahead of you. They don't have two heads. So as you're looking after your home front, you're also looking after your career. So you're also forging on as the men are forging on. I don't know what else to say to you, but I think that balance is so critical. And that's what we need to pray for, the balance, to be able to look left, right, center, and make sure there's a balance in our lives and all the people that are around us. We don't neglect anything that is around us. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll just take one or two more because you won't believe I'm still at the airport. I had to find somewhere to plug this phone so that, because if I started going home, we would not have had this session. But I've enjoyed talking to you. But believe it or not, I'm not a saint. I'm not. People that have worked with me know that sometimes I can really, really be a tough cookie. But I just want to encourage everyone that humility is so, so important. You need to be kind, not nice. Nice is what us Nigerians like, people you can step over. Kind is godly, but with a lot of good in it. You're doing it not because you're accepting any, you're expecting any reward or what. Be kind and good to people around you and work with people around you. Try to be in harmony with with the people around you, your family and everything. Strive for those. It's hard. Strive even in the work you do, even in the research you want to do. Don't grab everything. Don't be the one hoarding and hoarding. There's so much of it going on around us. And some of those people that hoard and hoard, you see they don't progress. They will not progress. You need to open up. Don't be an Aradite, holding, grabbing, and at the end of the day, you don't even do the research. Ask other people, are you interested? Let's do this work together. And then if they want to take the lead and they are better off, let them take the lead, but just be part of it. I mean, those are some of the things that I've seen over the years that you cannot run away from. So can we take maybe one or two more, if you don't mind, everyone? I just want to plead.
Thank you
so that I'll
so
be able to
much.
look
You
for
have
a
nailed it
taxi
on
and
the
go
head.
home.
Yes, ma. Thank you so much. We really appreciate this effort and this sacrifice, ma. You have nailed it on the head. Balance is the key. And also be kind, not nice. I'm really going to nail that. I'm really going to hold that in my hand. So we have a couple of questions revolving around how useful counselors are to you in your field, and there is a request for mentorship. But one of the questions that I quickly want you to maybe round up with, and I see Dr. Olakunle's hand, so maybe after the question, Dr. Olakunle can step in and just wrap it up, is that do you think there is an unconscious bias in research funding, publication, and career advancements? Do you think there is a bias in it?
The question is not really clear. Is it in funding in what?
The question is looks at do you think there is an unconscious bias? Maybe do you feel that maybe it's more suitable probably to one gender now? Or I think the person is trying to look from the angle of their gender now, that maybe
yes, we
it's
have
more
talked about
favorable
that. We've talked about that.
research funding, publication, and career advancement. Maybe it's more
I don't
suitable
think
maybe
so.
to the men.
Sometimes I've told you about the one of women, TWAS, if you look that up, is for women entirely. And there's so many that are asking for women because they want to cover that gap we had mentioned earlier. But some, they don't mention men or women. They just want somebody who has what it takes. And that is what we should strive at. That's what I've been talking about since. Create the substrate, get the skills, the research skills, the knowledge in that particular field. So my pediatrics, I keep talking about my pediatrics and my infectious disease. So I have to keep reading and knowing more. So I see a grant out there that is asking something about Mpox. I have to know about Mpox before I go and apply for it now. If it's TB, if it's whatever it is, I need to know what it is so that when I'm applying, my knowledge will show, because they look at all these things, they mark them, they score them. And then more important, I've told you about the research milieu, the environment. A lot of times it's sick around us in this Nigeria, toxic. People are hoarding, or people are making life difficult for every other person. They don't want them to be the ones, it has to be them. But we have to find a way around that toxicity. Some of these people, when they now see that, this person doesn't even mind too much about this, sometimes they come around. So I think that should answer that aspect about, is there any bias? There is just, if it's to publish a paper, there has to be substance in the paper, whether you're a man or a woman, there has to be substance. Otherwise, the journals will reject it and throw it out. That's why I keep encouraging us, you have to be knowledgeable. You have to learn how to write a manuscript. You won't just write that day and think it will be accepted. Learn. If you don't know, ask people who know, or go online and find out how. Read and read and read. All right, let's
Dr.
let
Thank
Dr.
you so
Daramola.
much. Yes, Dr. Lakule
Dr.
Daramola,
Daramola
Okay.
will
thank you
say
so
something.
much. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Ma, Professor Regina OLADOKUN, for being on this call. We appreciate the sacrifice that you've made. It's not easy, having been actively involved in the conference that you just finished, and you're still taking this call at the airport. We are so appreciative of your sacrifice, and we believe that everyone has gained from this talk tonight. And we want to encourage everyone that we may not have enough time. Initially, we planned to finish by 8:40, but we'll have to cut that back so that our guest speaker would be able to leave as soon as possible. I want to appreciate the team that has made this possible, the FRED interview team. They've worked so much behind the scenes to make sure this happens, this works out. And even though, to an extent, I've not been so active in the past few days, they have made sure that this interview still went on. Kudos to all of them. I also want to encourage us to check out the YouTube channel, which we will share this interview on the YouTube channel much later. And then for those who were not able to join, they can also follow up. For those who came late, they can also start listening to the interview from the beginning. At this juncture, before we round up finally, I would like to recognize two people, and I just want them to say a few words and appreciate the speaker, and probably just say a few things about the topic. First is Professor Lubenga Mokwolu, also a professor of pediatrics. So I would like you to help us to thank the speaker and also to explore a bit of the topic in such a way that we will realize whether as men, we should actively create spaces for women to make their voices heard, or we should just let things be passively and let them struggle for it. Over to you, sir, Professor Mokwolu.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Daramola, and congratulations, Prof. OLADOKUN, as well as the two moderators. Seeing Professor OLADOKUN on the adverts, I promised myself that I would not miss today's session because I just felt that she was such an appropriate guest to have been brought here to also show that nothing stops our maximizing our potential. Since the talk has concentrated mostly on the women, I will speak rather to my male colleagues to underscore the fact that it is only short-sightedness that will make a man to stifle the growth of his wife. If somebody is in your life as a helper, the logical reasoning is that the strength that that person has can only represent the extent to which you can be helped. And so you will really be helping yourself and strengthening the family bond if we work in such a manner as to ensure that no one is left behind. So in order for this not to be theoretical, I have a situation where because I'm a doctor from being married, we tend to just have a pathway. Okay, without too much thinking, you start talking residency, and then every other thing seems to sort of go along those ways, even if you have not taken life too seriously. And as I was doing that, right from our wedding period, my wife was also making her own plans in order to be able to advance her career. And I was quite impressed during our wedding activity to see that that was ongoing. Shortly after wedding, she had her admission in the university, but she had to be working in Lagos. So it was actually my duty to help copy half of her notes and for most part. So we basically did her first degree together. And thereafter, we discussed. She did her master's, from her master's to her PhD. And by the time she finished her PhD, she looked at me also and said, well, you have dwelt long enough on this, your fellowship. Why don't you go also to do something more? So I went to UI to do my MBA, despite being a professor of pediatrics. And today, my wife is also prima facie a professor, as well as myself. Our conversation is very easy. If I say my laptop has broken down, we don't need to argue about it. We both know immediately what that means. You know, if we both forget something, we are getting into that age. It has helped our tolerance, our understanding of one another. So I will say to us that you are wiser helping your spouse to maximize their potential, because the ultimate beneficiary of that development is you. And I want to underscore something that Professor OLADOKUN said. For the female, what is important in this growth is not to leave your primary duties undone. So even if you have domestic servants, be the face of the food that your husband eats. In other words, be the person who is saying what to cook. Make sure that you put the finishing touches and you oversee the dishing, so that you are the face that is associated with the food that he eats and not another person, because food is a way to many men's hearts. And I just cancel that. Never outgrow that particular customary role within the family setting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor, for that wonderful lesson and important information. We have a lot of people to recognize, but at this point, we'll just take just one more person to help us round up, and that is Dr. Bolade Deleojo. I hope she can hear us. She's the President, Medical Women Association of Nigeria, Ekiti State chapter. Dr. Bolade, can you hear us? Okay. While we're waiting for her, in case she can, we would like to move on now to get. Okay, so I think the Professor OLADOKUN is actually waiting to leave, so I think we just round up at this point. The questions will be taken or answered much later. I just want it to be that a woman gives the last word on this call. Dr. Ifedola Faramade, are you with us? Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Dr. Ifedola Faramade from Department of Community Medicine, University of Osun. Can you help us give you a vote of thanks and round up this meeting? Thank you, and I appreciate the guest speaker.
All right. Thank you very much for this honor. I want to sincerely appreciate our Prof. Thank you very much, ma, for taking out time to open her eyes and for the wonderful presentation. On behalf of everybody present on this call, we sincerely appreciate you and we pray for greater grace and strength for you. Thank you very much, ma. I appreciate everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, everyone. Please make sure you check the YouTube channel and subscribe to our channel. We've been able to have an interview in November, and then this in December. We hope to have one next month in January 2025 by God's grace. I also want to appreciate once again the interview team, Dr. Fumbi Akinola, Dr. Hamad Mustafa, Mrs. Rosemary, Mrs. Aminat, Ms. Anu, Bibi, Dr. Lawrence, everyone in the interview team. You're very much appreciated. Thank you, everyone. It's a wrap from us this night. Till we see or hear from each other the next month. Bye for now. From the Public Health Research Evidence Dissemination Network. Good night. Bye for now. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Right.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night,
Yeah,
everyone.
good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Good night.
Yeah,
Good
good
night,
night,
and
everyone.
thank you
Thank
from
you so much,
Kenya.
Prof. We are so
Bye-bye.
grateful, man. Have a safe trip home, man. And a nice, good night,
Good night.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you.
Good night, Prof. Thank you, man.